Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. I'm your host, Brooke Mitchell, and today's topic is hot stuff chilies in nature, culture, and cuisine with expedition leader Melissa Silva. Thank you so much for being here today, Melissa. Over to you.
Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, everyone. Welcome. And well, let's get started because this is a very prolific topic. So let's get as much as we can in this webinar. Well, my name is Melissa Silva. I'm a marine biologist, but I'm actually a food enthusiast. I'm a nature lover. I'm very passionate about how nature permeates in our culture and traditions. So I always say we are part of nature, so we must keep that in mind. And something, a natural part of Mexico that everyone associates the country with is chili peppers, el chile, the spicy food. So it is something very important. It's kind of like a symbolic icon or of our culture. So it is so important that it was the mascot for the World Cup, the soccer World Cup in '86, that was celebrated here in Mexico, and the mascot was a jalapeno pepper, as you can see here on the image on the left of the slide. So well, just for you to notice how important it is and how we Mexicans have this fruit as part of our identity. And well, we have a lot of decors also that are now popular worldwide. Some more traditional that you can see in many houses here or many Mexican themed restaurants. And then we also have it in video games, in the Plants vs. Zombie video game. If you have played that on your phone, there's a chili pepper in one of the high levels. And then it was part of the Google Doodles in 2016 for the Scoville unit for the hotness of the chilies. So I will go into that topic in a moment. But well, if you actually go and you browser and search for the Scoville doodle, you will see that, and it's a game. It's a little game that you can check there, and well, it has a lot of information as well. So the chili peppers belong. Let's get into the nerdy stuff, the scientific side of this. Chili peppers belong to the family Solanaceae, and this family is a huge, huge family of plants that are very important for humans because we have a lot of both ornamental and crops that belong to the family. Potato, tomatoes, and chili peppers, tobacco, those are part of the same family. Eggplants, but also some other petunias, for example, as in the ornamental side. But also we have a group of plants within this family that are toxic. For example, the angel trumpet down here, the yellow, big yellow flower on the image, and all of the species within this family have alkaloids. Some of them are psychoactive alkaloids. For example, the nicotine for the tobacco, atropine, scopolamine, like the ones in the trumpet angel, is the angel's trumpet. And then the capsaicin that chili peppers have is also psychoactive. So sometimes some people get like very hot, but we call it enchilados. They get a lot of spicy hotness in their mouth with the chiles, and you actually feel your head dizzy and your eyesight, your sight gets blurred. So it basically is just like a drug, like the effect of a psychoactive drug with the chili peppers. So speaking of specifically the peppers, they belong to a genus named capsicum, and the most recent study says that there are 43 species of capsicum. Basically, 90% of them or 95% of them are wild. Meanwhile, only 5 of them are domesticated. There are many, many varieties. So all of these chilies that you see on the photo here in this slide, they can belong to, I can see at least like 2 or 3 different species. But then you can see all the colors, shapes, sizes. Those are the varieties that the capsicum group has. And if you remember, I mentioned they belong to the Solanaceae family. If you have seen, or if you can later on check the photos of potato flowers or eggplant flowers, tomato flowers, they are all very similar. So that's like one characteristic that the family has in common: the shape of the flower, plus other development on the plant, like opposite leaves on the stalk. Most of those are bushy, if not herbal shapes, not very tree-like. There are no a lot of trees in the Solanaceae family, maybe just like on the group of the flowers, on the ornamentals, more than the crops. So, well, this is just a sample of excuse me, some of the flowers of the capsicum genus. So let's go over like specifically how they evolve, how they develop. The if you think like in general beliefs, everyone says that the chili pepper comes from Mexico. Like, yeah, it was originated in Mexico. We have chili peppers thanks to Mexico. Well, yes and no, because the center of origin, the place where the species evolved thousands of of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, it's on the central part of South America, like in Bolivia, right next to Bolivia, part of Brazil. And basically the capsicum species, the original capsicum species, looks something like this one on the right. This is a native, not endemic per se, because it's found in several different countries in this area of South America, Capsicum chacoense. But this is one of the oldest or original forms of capsicum. Researchers call this morphotype. That means excuse me, that means that the original or the basic morphology is like this, like a little very elongated, or circular, spherical, like this one on the left, on the left, the Capsicum galapagensis. This species is endemic from the Galapagos Islands. That's why the species name Galapagensis. And well, this would be like a couple of the hundreds of varieties that we have in South America. And to the high diversity of species, for example, in Central and Mexico, in Central America and Mexico, just to put some numbers, we have, I don't know, 10, 12 different species of capsicum. Down here, they might have 20 or 30 of the 43 species. So that's a clue that we have to know that the origin of the species as capsicum comes from South America. In a moment, I will explain why we have this common belief that Mexico is the center of the chili pepper. So the 5 species that are domesticated nowadays are all of them: capsicum, capsicum annum, frutensis, chinense, pubescens, and bacatum. So here you can see on the map the different regions where they naturally were distributed. This map, let's say, is like way before Christopher Columbus arrived to the Americas. So naturally, we only had the annum species here in Mexico, Central America, then frutescens and chinense in what is like the Amazon basin and the Caribbean area, pubescens just the Andes area, the high altitude on the mountains, and then bacatum is basically on the south part of the continent and South America. So let's go over like very general characteristics of each species. The Capsicum annum is the most common species in the world nowadays, and it has many, like thousands of morphotypes. Here, this is just a little tiny sample of it. The characteristic of this species, for you to tell, for example, the poblano and the piquin, that are completely different sizes and shapes and colors, and pungency and hotness is also different. But both of these plants Poblano and Peking will have a flower like this, white flower. There are very, very rare, like exceptional varieties of Capsicum annum that have purplish flowers. So it's but most of, like 99% of the Capsicum annum varieties will have white flower. Excuse me. Then the Capsicum frutescens. This one has less morphotypes. It's more similar among the types on this species. Most of them are elongated red peppers. Some are, let's say, one third are spherical, either red, este, brownish, orange, but most of those in this scale of color, reddish. And in general, all of these types will have a smoky flavor, and they will be very spicy. So actually, the Tabasco sauce is made out of one of the Capsicum frutescens morphotype, the Tabasco variety, that was collected in, I think it was mid 1800s, late 1800s, here in Tabasco, Mexico. So this morphotype was developed in this area of Mexico. One of the common characteristic of the varieties is the flower is this slightly greenish yellowish petals, as you can see. Then the Capsicum chinense species is the one that has some of the hottest peppers in the world. A lot of these varieties, of course, have been developed outside of the natural distribution. Some of them in India or in Thailand. For example, the ghost peppers that were developed outside of this area in the Americas. Some of them, the Carolina Reaper, Trinidad scorpions, are also outside of the natural area of distribution for the species. And one common characteristic of all of this, besides the high spiciness, is that they all have a fruity, tropical fruity aroma, and when you pass the hotness, they have a citrus-like flavor. So if you have the chance to try habanero, which is one of the most popular here in Mexico, when you travel to Cancun, for example, or to Tulum, to this area on the Mayan Rivera, the habanero will taste just a little bit like papaya or a little bit like este, banana and guava. It's kind of like a mix of tropical flavors in the chili pepper. Then the Capsicum pubescens. This one is one of the less known species outside of the natural distribution of the group, because it usually grows in altitudes above 2,000 meters, which are like 6,000 feet or so. So well, it's not like very easy to find the conditions for these plants to grow. Still, there are some areas where you can grow them. Here in Mexico, for example, we have a lot of manzano peppers in the Michoacan region. So actually, when I was getting ready for the webinar with the photos and information, I realized that on the Monarch butterfly trips that we have, they are just about to start in December, that we have this manzano salsa. And I remember our cook telling me, like, no, that's very spicy because that's manzano. And I'm like, manzano, like, I didn't really like quite understood what she was talking about. I knew it was a pepper. And then I saw the black seeds in the salsa. So now I know that is a completely different species, not even from Mexico, the development, the evolutionary origin. And they can cultivate manzano peppers in Michoacan area because those are the highlands of Mexico. Most of the towns and most of the cities over there are above 2,000 meters, or at least right on the limit. So, well, that's a side note on this species, that we do have the manzano in Mexico. And one characteristic of the species is that they have the purple petals in their flowers. So this is also very, very delicious pepper. Then the Capsicum bacatum, the one in South America, the one that is very, excuse me, popular in South America. It's mostly known as ají. It's a native word for chili pepper. And one of the most popular is the ají amarillo, very, very traditional and very widely used in the Bolivian and Peruvian cuisines. But there are some other chili peppers from this species that are actually grow outside of South America, like this one, the Malawi picante. That this is of course grown, and the variety, the morphotype, was developed in Malawi, and well, some others that were also grown outside of the natural distribution. But this is mostly popular in South America, and due to the use of this species specifically, the bacatum, it has as many varieties almost as the capsicum annum. So these two, bacatum and annum, would be the ones that are more with more varieties in them. So going back to why we say, I'm sorry, excuse me, why we say in Mexico Mexico is the home, or the center of not center of origin, but center of distribution and development of the chili pepper. Well, actually, it depends which species we are talking about. Because if we talk about the Capsicum frutensis, for example, or Capsicum bacatum, the very last one we saw, well, their center of distribution and their center of diversification would be South America. But as you can see, those are like very local, not so widespread or widely used chili peppers. But if we think about the jalapeno, the poblano peppers, all of those that are more like associated with very international cuisines, the bell peppers, the pimiento morrón, all of those come from the Capsicum annum species, and that species specifically developed in Mexico almost 10,000 years ago. So some archaeological evidences tell us that they were domesticated almost at the same time, or a little bit before, as the pumpkins, the corn, and beans here in Mexico. Because if we look for the other information with the other species I mentioned, in South America, for example, there are registers of domestication as far as 6,000 years ago. So still a little bit older, the domestication process in Mexico, but well, just for all of us to have this clarification on the Capsicum annum species was the one that was domesticated and diversified in Mexico, and from here is that we have like all of these different types of chiles that we use in the world. So how that happened? 530 years ago, only the Americas had chili peppers. So what happened 500 years ago? Well, Christopher Columbus came, the Columbian exchange, some fruits coming and going, more than anything. And this all started because of this spice competition that was going on between the Spanish and the Portuguese. So they all wanted to try the spices, to bring the spices from Asia, from India, from China, and then they decided just to look for some other routes instead of the Silk Road, or this route around the Africa area. And what happened? Columbus was exploring, blah blah. We all know that little part of the history. But then what happened after that? Actually, we might think that the Spanish were the ones that spread the chili pepper all around Europe and Africa and Asia. Well, it was actually the Portuguese. Portuguese had wider trade routes in all these areas. You can see I just exemplified a little bit with the flags of each country. Portugal had more areas for trade than Spain. So Spain basically stayed on the Silk Road area, so the spread of the chili pepper was not as fast and far away from Spain or from the Americas. Meanwhile, the Portuguese, they were going to Africa, Central South Africa, to India, to Philippines, to even to Japan. So, well, the Portuguese were the ones that were spreading chili peppers, and if you remember our this species distribution, they were spreading more Capsicum frutescens or Capsicum bacatum instead of Capsicum annum from the northern part of the Americas. Okay, so now let's go over like each part of the world a representative chili pepper on their culture or cuisine. Spain and the Mediterranean, it actually became a substitute for the black pepper that they were looking for. That's why they call Christopher Columbus, the Spanish call us in this area Indians, because they thought they arrived to the India looking for the black pepper. But well, the chili pepper became a substitute, but it was very spicy, very hot. So eventually, with the change of weather, soil, it lost its pungency, and one of the varieties that developed from the annum species was the bell pepper. That is basically a staple in the Mediterranean cuisine. If you think about like the salads or something that is characteristic from Europe, would be recipes with bell peppers. But then in Hungary, the paprika, which is another type of chili pepper from the Capsicum annum, became basically a national symbol. They adopted it so well. It's not as spicy as others, and well, now it's one of the main producers in Hungary for export and local consumption. In Africa, remember here we have more influence from the Portuguese colonies. In Africa, we have different types of chili peppers, some very spicy. And for example, in Mozambique, there's a spicy sauce named piri piri. That means actually chili in Swahili, or spicy, and is used as a base for a lot of food, like any meat or even vegetarian foods are prepared with the piri piri sauce. In the northwest Africa, right below of the Mediterranean, right next to the Arabic Peninsula, there is a traditional paste named harissa, and is made with some roasted peppers and olive oil. So basically, it's just pepper and olive oil with some other spices from the region, but it's one of the most spiciest preparations on the area in the traditional cuisine. Note, let me go back one and just take a look at how the preparation. This is like the whole bell pepper prepared with stuff things in there, but bell pepper is basically sweet pepper. Then the paprika dried and just mild, not very spicy. Some varieties are spicy, not all of them. Um, and then the spicy sauce here in Mozambique, Northwest Africa, is a sauce, it's a paste that you add to the dishes. On Asia, they have like a mix. They can eat the chili pepper as the main plate, as the main dish preparation, or they can add it to other as an ingredient to other preparations. In China, for example, they are one of the most fond of chili peppers cultures in the world because of the traditional Chinese medicine. They think that as you get the spiciness in your mouth, all the effects that this hotness have helps you to relieve the diseases. So if you have headache, if you have I don't know, a fever, cold, you are sick with a cold, and you get some chili peppers and you get the spiciness, that will help you to heal because you are kind of like expelling all these bad humors or bad vibes that your body has, and that's why it's medicinal. So basically, that's something like they adopted very well from the Americas. In India, for example, they already had a huge tradition of spicy food in terms of spices. For example, the curries, those were made way like thousands of years before the chili arrived to India. But once it arrived to India, since it added already a flavor that they knew, well, they just adopted it very fast already. Actually, a lot of people from Asia, from China, and from India, they think that chili peppers are native to this area. So, well, now you know they are not. Then Korea and Thailand. Well, also the same. They adopted the flavor of chili peppers. They were used already to some very pungent spices. Let's say garlic or the curcuma. See, so they adopted that and modify it to be with to be part of the culture in not as once again not like the chili pepper per se, but added to other preparations. For example, in Korea, the gochugaru, gochugaru, it's a red pepper that was added to the traditional kimchi. Usually, they added this pungent flavor by the pepper, the black pepper that they had in the area. But now that they have the chili pepper, they kind of change a little bit these recipes. But well, it's been 500 years at least of this ingredient added, so they already take it as them of their property. And well, let's come back here very close to our neighbors. The USA, very popular. I mean, the chili contests are very popular, I've heard of, and is widely consumed and actually is cultivated in the US, but especially the less spicy varieties, like the bell pepper, and some other varieties that are not as pungent as others. And the influence for the spicy varieties of chili peppers come from the Mexican and the African descendants. So if you think about this map that I showed you, early 1500s, we have a lot of chili peppers, then 1600s, and then when we have the unfortunately slave trade back from Africa to the Americas, is when we have this mix of again, it's basically like the chili pepper just came back home, and the African descendants were the ones that actually brought like this spicy likeliness for the chili pepper. So Mexico is the first exporter for the or importer for the U.S. with 95% of the chili pepper, specifically jalapeno and other varieties that are fresh and more spicy. Is the main importer to the U.S. Dominican Republic is the second, but well, not even 2%, just 1.8. This is a graphic from 2021, if I remember correctly. And believe it or not, Florida, you have an inner supplier in Florida with the same amount as those in Dominican Republic, almost 2% of the chili pepper, the green spicy chili pepper in the US. And well, here you can check that. That's actually in the I think it's in the I took it from the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, and so you can just check that information over there. And also a very popular salsa in the US, Tabasco, I mentioned already, from a variety of capsicum frutenses developed in Tabasco area in Mexico, in the Gulf of Mexico, and jalapeno in both fresh and dry presentation, which we know it as a chipotle pepper. And well, why we say again, Mexico is one of is the spiciest country, the one that eats a lot of chili. Why chili is from Mexico? Well, I was thinking that maybe the Thai food was spicy. like spicier than Mexican in some dishes, or India or China that they might eat a lot. They have this contest of eating chiles, but actually, the annual consumption of chili per capita per person in Mexico is equal to almost 20 kilograms, 43 pounds of chili pepper per person per year. So basically, that is like 50 grams of chili pepper a day. And I was thinking, like, heck no, I don't eat 50 grams of chili peppers. Well, I might do because we have chili peppers everywhere, like spiciness everywhere in Mexico. These salsas, I took a photo in a restaurant I went with my family. This was just 5 salsas, all of them with chili pepper, one more spicy than the other. The pico de gallo sauce was the mildest one, but still spicy. Then we have chili pepper added to candies. So I have some samples here because it's true. I mean, we have those at home. In birthday parties with the piñatas for I actually took this from a 4-year-old birthday party. So this was in a piñata for kids of 4 years of age. It's the chili pepper on the candies, and then I was thinking like how much is a day for the uh, consumption per capita a day. 40 grams more or less is this amount of chili. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, this amount of chili a day. So when I realized like how much the amount of chili pepper, I was like, hell no, I don't eat this much. But actually we do, because we don't eat it like the whole chili pepper like this. We eat it in dishes, prepared in where the chili pepper is the main ingredient, like this chile en nogada. This is one of our national dishes for Independence Day. We eat it added to the corn on the cob, like with chili. This the candies that I mentioned, and if you can see back here behind myself, there's a lot of salsas that I have at home, and so well, we do eat a lot of chili pepper, as you can see, in many varieties, different presentations. Some of those are added to the food just as part of the preparation, not that you really eat the pepper itself. So well, we do eat a lot of chili pepper. Another something important that I wanted to mention, the moles. Moles is another topic completely. The syncretism that we have in the different cuisines that arrive to Mexico. In the mole is very well represented. You can see here a little bit of ginger that is not from the Americas. You can see some the nuts. You can see the chili peppers, and for example, the black mole from Oaxaca. There are at least 3 or 4 different ingredients, but 6 of those are different types of chiles. And something very, very cool is that in Mexico we eat a lot of dry chiles. So we have the fresh the chili peppers, jalapenos, or the poblano that you saw on the previous slide. But most of the peppers that we use is to add flavor or color to the preparations. So for the black mole in Oaxaca, we use the guajillo, mulato, pasilla, the ancho chile, chipotle, and one specific chile from Oaxaca that is called chilhuacle negro. That is this one here that is very soft. You can, I don't know if you can notice, but well, and so and another sample that we do have a lot of dry chiles for general consumption in Mexico. My stack of dry chiles. I have the guajillo right here, as you can see. Once again, one of the chiles. These are so beautiful that we have for the moles. I have a pasilla chile here, and believe it or not, we use them quite often because these ones are not spicy. They are mostly smoky, sweet, and they add a little bit, just a little bit of pungency, but a lot of colors and taste. This is chile ancho. Then I have mulato, chile mulato. And then I actually have some chiles that I don't really know what they are, but they smell very spicy. They look like chilaca or like chile de árbol. These are tiny, very, very spicy, smoky smell, and some earthy flavor. So, well, you can see, of course, this is just my personal stack. Some other families will have more, we have less, or will prefer milder chiles rather than this. So this the importance of the chili pepper comes not only from the cuisine, from the uh, modern cuisine, but also they were part of the tributes that the people from central Mexico, and actually from other areas, like in other areas in Mesoamerica, that the tributes that they pay to the mexicas. So here, this is a sample of different drawings on the codex, different codexes. This one on the left, marked with the A, is a stack of chili peppers. You can see a chili pepper draw here. So they were counted among the tributes for the mexicas, among with together with this is honey pots on the right. These are beans and yeah, different species, different types of beans that were part of the tributes. Can you see where I'm pointing? Okay, these were beans, these were cacao sacks, bread, and some other drinks and foods. But well, for you to know that it was one very important tribute for the mexicas and their uses. This is a very sad image for me. It's kind of like, oh my god, they were tough back on those days. One of the uses for the chili peppers was to use the smoke of dry chili peppers or fresh chili peppers, mostly dry, on burn pits, to use those as a warfare technique or to punishment for not only for kids. This codex shows specifically parents with kids, punishing them for whatever reason. So the fumes of these, the smokes of these chili peppers were used for this kind of events, for punishment or for as a technique of warfare. So imagine just how spicy that was and painful. You actually cannot breathe when that happened. I mean, I was not punished like that, but I have roasted chili peppers at home for the salsas. Something that I found to be very cool is that the chili pepper is associated to the rain deities, to Tlaloc, to Chicomequat, and to the little sister of these two the deities, the god Tlaloc and the goddess Chicomequat, Tlatawiki Siwat Ichilcintli. She is the respectable lady of the little red chili. So these three deities had among their offerings chili peppers, dry or fresh. And the reason is because actually I read in one of the sources that I was looking for this information that the people that were offering or were asking for rains or offering a sacrifice to these deities, they ate the chili peppers, so the tears and all the mucosity that was coming out represented the rain. So the more they were crying and sweating, and with the pungency of the chili, it was the amount of rain that specific deity will bring to the people, or to the specific town of that was asking for this. So it was something. It makes sense to think, to associate the inner water with the external water of the world. And well, in Mexico, we actually have preferences in each state of the republic, of the country. Well, this is just a sample because we actually have like 64 65 different chili peppers that are produced and consumed here in Mexico. Actually, I have back here this poster with the chiles that are native, domesticated, native, in wild, and those that are introduced from other species. I will give you the link in one moment so you can see this online with full detail and all the information. Then, excuse me. Something very cool is that we have a denomination of origin for the habanero pepper in Yucatan. Despite this species is not, this is Capsicum chinense, this is not from Mesoamerican area, but because of the use that this chili has in the peninsula for at least 200 years, it's how it gained the denomination of origin. So the characteristics, the shape, the color is specific to this type of morphotype of chili pepper. Let's get into the other, because we have 15 minutes. Yes. So the chili peppers, they can be fresh with one name and they can be dry with another name. Here in Mexico, it's very common that you go and look for chile poblano dry, and they are like, you mean chile ancho, or you want jalapeno dried, and it's actually chipotle. So it depends on the presentation, the name of the chile. So we use both. You can actually use both type of presentation, fresh and dry, on the same dish. And actually, one of the most expensive chili peppers is the cascabel. That's very expensive and very rare to find. Believe it or not, the chili peppers have different flavors. It's not only the hotness that's spicy and they have more or less spiciness, but they actually have different flavors. Speaking of the fresh or the dry presentation. For example, if you notice here on this little image, the fruity flavor in the dry presentation, we have the chile ancho. Pure chile ancho has a fruity flavor, but also the serrano. Then, for example, if you think about a sweet flavor, the guajillo, which is a dry chile, has this a sweet flavor, but also the Criolla that is a South American variety when it's fresh. So, well, you can go online and just do a fast research on uh, core chili pepper flavors, and I will give you some resources also online, and you will see all the different characteristics and how you can take advantage of those for your cuisine. And now, speaking of spiciness, of pungency, which is the technical name for the spiciness, the hotness of the chiles, pungency. Well, basically, we have this Scoville heat scale. This was developed in the early 1900s, but it was very subjective because the way of determine how spicy one pepper was to give like the fresh pepper to a person, and then give that person water with sugar, with certain amount of sugar, and then it depends how much sugar had to be added to the water until the testers were like not feeling the spiciness. That was the unit. So, for example, just for us to understand better, 1 milliliter of the Carolina Reaper chili will require 2.2 tons of sugar water to to kill that heat of the Carolina Reaper. So just for you to imagine, it's something that doesn't really have a sense in practical terms. It's very easy for us to understand, like, oh, well, yeah, the Carolina Reaper has 1,400,000 units in the Scoville heat. Meanwhile, the bell pepper has 0. So we understand that, and that's easier for the common people to know how spicy one or how hot one chili pepper is. But actually, what we need to know is how much capsaicin has the chili pepper on each how how many milligrams of capsaicin per gram on chili pepper. So what happens here is that the capsaicin interacts with a receptor that we have in our body, in general, like in all of our body. That is the TRPV1 receptor, and actually it's like a secondary metabolite of the chili pepper that helps the fruit, or actually that helps the prevents the consumption from mammals. So it's a target to the mammals because birds are basically immune to this type of compound. They do have some receptors for the pungency of the chili peppers, but they are not as sensitive as we have. So well, this is a website that I found. Phytochem.com is down here on the at the very bottom of the slide. Later on, we can go back and you can take a screenshot. But it really explains like why we like it, why we like to get spicy food. Pretty much is the similar reaction in our brain as when we see a scary movie or when we go to the roller coaster. Like this dangerous thing that we know we are very safe. That is dangerous, but at the same time we know it won't be deadly. And actually, the capsaicin helped a couple of researchers to win the Nobel Prize in physiology or medicine in 2021. This is like a whole topic on itself. Go online, check this press release. They explain how they were able to discover how the receptors in the body works for temperature and touch using the capsaicin compound for these receptors. This is something very, very amazing, very nerdy. And then the pharmacological properties and the health benefits of the species. This image we have here on the right side of the slide is just kind of like an abstract of this the article, Pharmacological Properties and Health Benefits of Capsicum Species, Comprehensive Review. So these researchers just check hundreds of other published papers, published articles and research, and they found all the health benefits or all the health helps that we can have with the chili pepper by the consumption of fresh chili pepper or derivatives of the chili pepper, like they use extracts of chili peppers. You better go online. This is open access and it's very, very interesting. Go online to read the whole the chapter of this research. And also they were looking for the antioxidant potential for the human cells from the chili peppers as well. So it has many properties that can be used in medicine and in health benefits. You can take a screenshot of this slide as well and go online on any of these websites. I took a lot of the information and images from some of these. And well, it has the history of chili peppers, the distribution around the world, the spice, the varieties, which one is spicy, or how you can prepare them to make them less spicy. And also in, I think it's Spice Mart, no, Chili Guro. So one of these, they sell chili pepper seeds, and they tell you how to grow them at home or in your garden. Depends like where you are in the world. It's very cool. And for more nerdy information, these two articles on how the chili peppers diversified and evolved and where they are the origin of the species, of the domesticated species. So well, you can take another screenshot of this. And then if you want to go deep into the pharmacological health benefits, the metabolites, the properties of the chilies, these two are also very interesting, very easy to read, short. This I really like this one, the secondary metabolites capsicum species and their importance in human diet, because they have these comparative charts of, for example, the concentration of vitamin C in different fresh fruits. For example, orange, vitamin C on the orange, like a little bit less than 50 milligrams per 100 grams of fresh orange. Okay, 50 milligrams on 100 grams. But if you take the any like one capsicum annum, any of these two, one has more than the daily dose, the recommended daily dose, that is actually 82 milligrams per day of vitamin C. One variety of capsicum annum has 100 milligrams, more than 100 milligrams per 100 grams of fresh capsicum. So just for you to have an idea of like which specific ¿cómo se llama? No ingredient, metabolites here, which specific metabolite has each species of capsicum and how they can be beneficial for human health. Y last but not least, some jokes. We can use the chili pepper to make some jokes. For example, this one in Spanish, chile seco, like dry chili. Oh, I love you. Okay. Or the chile relleno, like stuffed chili. Oh, I cannot eat anymore. So, well, basically that's it. Let's go for the questions before we have the time on us. Thank you very much.
Oh, Melissa, you are so good at putting so much information into your presentations. I absolutely enjoy sitting down and learning from you, as I'm sure everybody else did as well. Remember, everybody, in your control panel, in your go-to webinar, please submit any questions. We will have some time here until the top of the hour. We do have a couple, but again, I would like to get a few more if you have any burning chili questions.
Yes.
So, first here, in your research, by chance, did Bhutan come up in your chili consumption charts or anything? We have a guest here that went to Bhutan with NatHab, and they eat a lot of chilies. By chance, you might know how it might compare to Mexico?
So Bhutan, if I remember correctly, I just need my. I'm not very good with geography anymore. My apologies. But if I remember correctly, is right here next to. Okay, Bhutan, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right next to India and China. So I did not see any specific about that country, but if you think about the influence of India, China, and all this Asian food with the like high spicy and spicy levels, um, if you remember the previous slide where we saw how many chili peppers each country ate, I'm pretty sure they eat maybe less amount of chili peppers. Like here, for example, we have India, not even 1 kilogram per person in 1 year. But what they have is that they mix the chili pepper that is spicy, that like is hot, with some other local spices from the area. So I would be venturous and say they might eat the same amount of chili pepper as the India, because like they are right next to each other. So maybe not as much pepper as the chili pepper as Mexico, but definitely very spicy varieties.
Awesome. Since you are a cook, I'm sure, I hope everybody noticed all of the sauces and spices and chili stuff behind Melissa. Obviously, you are a great cook when it comes to Chile and Mexican dishes. If somebody made their dish a little too hot, how can they cut the spiciness?
So the capsaicin is it dissolves in fat. So, for example, if the dish is already spicy and you cannot modify it by adding either a little bit more of oil or butter or cream, you can actually eat directly the oil, the butter, or the cream, and you will completely take off the spiciness in your mouth. So, for example, usually we try to select the chili peppers that are less spicy when we are cooking them or adding them directly on the dish. But for the salsas, for example, when you go to the restaurant and there is a sauce over there and you don't know if it is spicy, you can try it first, of course, but you can add a little bit of butter or cream, which will go sour cream that can go with mostly like any dish. So basically that would be it, like adding fatty products to the dish, or less chili pepper if it is spicy, less amount than the one on the recipe says. That would be my or for example, when you are chopping chili pepper, if you don't use gloves, for example, if you don't want to use gloves, you can add a little bit of oil before handling the chili pepper, specifically on the tip of your fingers, under your nails, like oil or butter. And with that one, you will avoid the spiciness in your finger and, well, later on other parts of your body.
Very helpful. Thank you. From all of us, I'm sure we've all of us loved that tip.
Yeah.
Next, when you were doing all of your research, I know you prepped a long time for this. Did you ever come across what the highest pepper ever recorded was and where it was found?
So it was actually made, man-made, the Carolina Reaper, and there was another one, Pepper X or algo something like that. Like it has a scary name that is even higher in the Scoville units. But these all of these, the Carolina Reaper, Trinidad Scorpion, Ghost peppers, Fatally, that is also another chili pepper from Asia. All of those are man-made and they are selected. Basically, they are genetically modified organisms, but by the nature. You only mix the chili peppers that are spicy, and then the human selects the most spicy from each generation, and then they mix it with other that is the most spicy from other variety, and that's how you have the spiciest chilies. So far, is it would be the Carolina Reaper, and I think it was X pepper or ghost X pepper, something like that, but it had an X, I remember. And it was like 4 million Scoville hit units or something like that, something that had no sense, because you cannot actually eat it on itself. So you will have to eat just a little bit and mix with other fruits, with other ingredients, because, well, it's more just for the show off rather than for an actual use on cuisine or other areas. But that would be the one that still has like the most spicy chili pepper is the Carolina Reaper.
Great. Thanks for that answer. Well, we are coming down to, yep, there it is. The timer just went off to the top of the hour. So, Melissa, I will
Yes.
turn it to you for any last closing comments.
Oh, well, but I don't know if I can. Let me show you this one. Can we see it? Yes, we can see it. Um, oh, but it's very small, the letters here. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun. My mouth was watering all the time while preparing this webinar, and still now. But if you want to check, as I mentioned, this poster I have back here, let me just make this bigger for all of us to see it. Go online to this specific website, memoricamexico.gov.mx, and then on the little magnifier, the the search tool, write down chili pepper poster, and one of the first results, that's the poster that we have here. And well, that's it. Be adventurous. Try, when you have the chance, try the chili peppers from the world. When you come to Mexico and you have the chance of having these local spicy candies, try them, because they are very good. They have this mix of salty and spicy and sweet flavor. So thank you very much for being here, and see you on the next one.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for presenting for us today. And of course, I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in. Join us tomorrow for our next Daily Dose of Nature. You can check out this week's lineup, including registration links, on our website at nethab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude the webinar. Goodbye, everybody.